Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Doing business in life with a purpose, serving others and achieving success. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to learn how to do business in life to make an impact in the world. What impact will you make today? And my guest today has made millions of impact with an incredible book, The Go-Giver. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Why Go-Giver? Where'd that word come from?
So a go-giver is simply someone who has learned, or maybe always intuitively knew, that shifting your focus, and I think this is really where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical, type of reason. It actually makes very logical, very rational sense. When you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and place it on serving other, well, you're the expert in that field, serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire. When you can take your focus off yourself and place it on helping others solve or overcome their challenges and problems, when you can move your focus off yourself and on to helping a person move closer to happiness, if you will, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell the world about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. So that's really the premise of this book that was co-authored with John David Mann, who's a fantastic writer and storyteller. It's a business parable. So it's a work of fiction. And, so that's really who a go-giver or what a go-giver is.
I like the part too, because it's action. It's like, hey, I give and talk about giving. We get that people talking, hey, I'm a giver, bring value. But you talk about action, taking the action of giving, correct?
And that was the one commitment that Joe, the protege in the story, had to make to Pindar, the main mentor, that he would actually apply the information. He would apply every law that day, right? He didn't have to apply it perfectly, but he had to apply it. We're big believers in taking action. That's why many people think that the opposite, Steve, of a go-giver is a go-getter. Not so. We love go-getters. Go-getters take action. Go-getters get things done. We're all business people. We know you can have the nicest ideas, best thoughts, greatest of intent, but unless action's put into the mix, nothing's going to happen. It cannot happen. So we say, the opposite of a go-giver is actually a go-taker. That's that person who feels almost entitled to take without having added value to the person, to the process, to the situation. And they tend to go-takers tend to be very frustrated because they rarely attain the type of success, at least sustainable success, that they believe they deserve. So, we say be a go-getter and a go-giver, just don't be a go-taker.
Yeah. So I talk about a lot, and I love your opinion on this. You're giving, you're a getter, but a gift comes back your way. That's when you should receive the gift. It's not taking the gift. How important is that, receiving the gift?
Well, it's law 5, the law of receptivity, which says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And this really means nothing more than understanding that, you breathe out. Well, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other. It's both, right? We breathe out carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen. Try to thrive or even survive without doing both. It's pretty difficult. So breathe out, which is giving, breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving, Steve, are not opposite concepts, though the world would have us believe it is. And we see these anti-prosperity messages coming at us from everywhere all the time. So it's very important for us to kind of understand that giving and receiving are actually two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem.
Yeah, that's great. I love the tandem. What inspired you to write the book and the multiple books after?
Well, years ago, I had a book out, and this was in the mid '90s. It was my first book. It was called Endless Referrals, and the subtitle was "Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales." And it was really a how-to system for. It was really written for entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had great value to share, that their clients and customers benefited greatly, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable going into their local communities and developing the kinds of relationships where people would want to do business with them directly and or refer them to others. So Endless Referrals was a how-to on how to do that. The basic premise was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And, really, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely and authentically moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the Go Giver, told Joe, it's making your win all about the other person's win. But so Endless Referrals was a how-to book. But I'd always enjoyed reading parables. Ever since I'd been in sales, I loved reading parables. I think parables are stories. They connect with us on a heart to heart, much deeper level. So fortunately, and I always thought, wouldn't it be great to take the basic premise of Endless Referrals and turn it into a parable? But fortunately, in the early 2000s, I met John David Mann. He was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I was writing for, and John, even back then, had a great reputation as a writer and storyteller. He was fantastic, and he's a great guy. And I took this idea to John, and I said, I think we got something here, but I really, you need to be the lead writer. You're the storyteller, right? And fortunately, he agreed, and we kind of then put that together. But he's the reason the story sang as it did.
Yeah, and I love that about the book. It's not a coaching book. I mean, it is, but you do it around a story. So it's for me, it was an exciting read because I'm following a series of stories, and I'm learning from those stories, and that's the reason you did that. What you just said, right?
Yeah. I think I guess a story hits on a more heart-to-heart level as opposed to just a head-to-head level, and both are important. Don't get me wrong, of course, but it's just so much. I know myself, whenever I'd read parables, and I continue to. I mean, I don't know how many parables I've read from such great authors, but they always seem to strike me in a way I feel a connection with the author, with the characters, and it seems like I take the information in. But I know I'm not alone in that way. Most people feel the same way. So that's really why. And then so we have several stories within the Go Giver series. One of the books is a how-to book, but the rest of them are all written in parable form.
Yeah, there's a lot of parables behind you. As I look at your video, you got a lot of books behind you, I'm sure, or stories, which prove the point that you read parables. You mentioned relationships, and I love talking about when you're serving, you've got to build relationships.
Sure.
How important is that with the Go Giver?
Oh, well, I mean, it's everything. And what's interesting is people say, well, sales nowadays, though, when with online and with social media and so forth. Well, here's the thing, and remember how we said all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and well, it's not that they're going to do business with and refer business to those computers they know, like, and trust. It's the person at the computer. And you can form and develop and cultivate a relationship right in front of that computer. But it's not an either or, it's an and, but social media certainly gives and the internet itself gives us many more opportunities to connect with people we otherwise may never have had the opportunity to meet. But we still have to understand it's never about the medium. It's about the other person. It's about the relationship. There was a great book by Jeff Colvin, who's the editor at large for Fortune magazine, and it was called Humans Are Underrated. He wrote this, it came out about 6 or 7 years ago, and he said that the question used to be, what can humans do that technology still can't do? But that's no longer a question, because by this time technology can do pretty much everything and probably
Right.
even better. He said, the question now is, what can humans do that people will only accept from humans and not from technology? And he gave us an example. If, God forbid, somebody, a relative or friend dies in the operating room, you don't want to hear that from a computer. You don't want to see it in a printout. You need a doctor who can empathetically and from the heart, who wants to serve, break that news in a very kind human way. And what he said was, as technology continues to really be so prolific, that person who has those skills, and I know they're called soft skills. I never call them soft skills because I don't think there's anything soft about them. There's nothing easy about them. I call them people skills. And so it's people who are, have that kindness, have that empathy, are able to team build, are able to lead, are able to serve, are able, right? These are the people, as he says, are going to be the most in demand and the highest paid.
Well, we went the technology route, so let's jump in the elephant in the room, AI. What's your thoughts on AI? People, it's taking my job. People, it enhances my job or enhances my life. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the people I've really spoken to have kind of, because it was almost like there was a panic almost at the beginning with people, but I think people have begun to come to the conclusion that if you're good at what you do, then you utilize AI for what it can do in order to assist, but it's still not going to replace. And now, don't get me wrong, there are some things that will replace, like any technology replaces people, but that just causes, that's progress, and that causes people. But no, what you do is you utilize the AI, okay, in order to, create that more human connection. So again, it's not going to be the AI, it's going to be the person who is utilizing that AI in the most appropriate way.
I like how you say that human connection, because you're right to talk about AI. They take that away, but it's your doctor story you said earlier, parable, was great, because you're not going to have a robot come up and say, "Hey, you just lost your brother." It's always going to be a human on that side of the fence.
Right.
If somebody came to you and said, "I'm so excited about a Go Giver, where do I start?" What would you tell them?
Well, I would say just what Pindar told Joe, to apply to apply the laws that day, once you read them. And we have heard from people that there are 5 laws: the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And we've had people say that they've read one a day instead of reading the whole, but you could read the book in an hour and a half, 2 hours, but instead they'll just do one law each day and apply it, and then come back the next day, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I'd say start by just applying it.
It sounds like it's a skill that you need to practice too, as well, right?
I think anything is,
Yeah.
just about. Don't get me wrong. You can intuitively, be inclined in certain areas, but
Yeah.
but the inclination itself without practice is only going to take you so far. It's like, you can see a 5-year-old who seems to have good gross and small motor control. They can pick up a bat, and their dad pitches it to them, and they hit it, and it's great. But if they're going to get really good, they're going to have to, keep practicing and keep learning and so forth.
Yeah, that's true. Personal development sounds like something that's a big part of your life because of all the books behind you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the Go Giver book is one that people should read for personal development. What's others, or what's your suggestion to somebody say, "Hey, I need to develop my personal development. I need to grow it."
There's so many great books out there.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that the more we can learn about people skills and human nature, and then of course the two tie in, is so important. So to me, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is a book that is just, to me, that will never go out of style. Right.
Yeah.
Books like Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz that was published in 1960. That was the first book I read. I read that back in the mid 80s or early 80s. And that was the first book that taught me that it's our belief system, our unconscious, what I call our unconscious operating system, but really you could just call it your belief system that determines our success. that we can never achieve more than our most limiting belief. And we don't even know we have these beliefs, right? Until we become consciously aware of them. And only then can we direct them to, so there's all sorts of great books out there, from back in the, if you read the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius and all them, and you come back and Ben Franklin and his books, the autobiography, and it just, there's so many. The bookshelves in the back of me, that's one tiny part of my home library. I like to say my home is comprised of books with some scattered furniture.
That's true personal development. I love that. I love that. And I read the Daily Stoic daily, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's a wonderful. And his book that he wrote, he has a great email, but also his book, The Daily Stoic, is
fantastic. Yeah, Ryan Holiday's the best. In essence of the future, are you going to grab it? Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm looking for, I know it's right behind me. And for some reason I'm not seeing it. So here it is. Yeah. And so you can pretty much, and once you go through it once for the year, then you pick it up whenever you want. You just turn to any date, and it always happens to be something that you need, to listen to right at that moment.
It's amazing. Yeah, mine's right here too. And it's a quick read, which for a lot of people, that's a good thing. It came to my head, and a good question is Audible or reading a book. What's your thoughts on that? I know people do both, and they get more information. I know everybody's different. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I just love reading.
Yeah.
I've listened to books on, audio on Audible and so forth, but I really love just picking up that book, having my pen and sticky notes and making the notes in there. And so, that's my preference. But I would say whatever a person's preference is, that's the way to go. Because it's like anything else. It's like when they say, what's the best workout routine? Well, whatever you're going to do. What's the best contact management relationship system? The one you're going to use.
I love it. And that's a great point, because I get asked that. Hey, do you Audible? I went to reading too, because I think you comprehend better. For me, again, that's for me, because doing Audible, it actually put me to sleep. And if you're falling asleep listening to Audible, it's just not benefiting you.
Yeah.
So what's the future of Sam and the Go-Givers in your book? What's that look like in the future?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
the
that.
future of Go-Givers, the Go-Giver book, and Sam, the character, and all characters in there.
So there's 4 in the series that John and I wrote together. Okay, so there's the Go-Giver, there's Go-Givers Sell More, which was really kind of more of an application guide to the Go-Giver. Then there was the Go-Giver Leader and the Go-Giver Influencer. Those, again, are parables. Then John and his wonderful wife, Anna, they actually teamed up to write the Go-Giver Marriage, which was first part was parable. The second part was the how-to, and Anna, his wife, that is her field. So they did a great job. So I think that's pretty much all, with the Go-Giver, and that we're going to see, unless John and Anna write a book on, child rearing or something like that. But so it's been a good run though, and I've enjoyed doing the series with John. He's been a pleasure to work with, and so you can't ask for more than that.
Good partnerships are great when they're working, and I'm glad they're working. And I'm glad you mentioned the other books, because I know you had other books. Is people like to build on their growth, and that's what you've done with these series of books, which I really like. ROI is a buzzword in sales and business, and people come to me about serving. What's the ROI when I serve? So let me ask you, what's the ROI when I'm a Go-Giver, if there is any, or if that's part of it?
Yeah, well, I think it's important, but it also depends it depends on the context as well. Because if we're talking about business, well, a return on investment means that you're financially going to do well, which is part of it. Receptivity, we believe in abundance. We just believe that the abundance is the result of the value you've provided. That's why John and I say that money is simply an echo of value. Right, it's the thunder to value's lightning, which means the value must come first. The money you receive is simply a natural result. That's the ROI, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's also return on relationship, and there's return on service, and there's return on whatever really we give out to the world. That return on that is probably a result of that.
Yeah. No, that's well said, because you can't put it into a number. You can't say, I go give 5 times this week and I'm going to make $100,000 this month.
Right.
It's not relatable.
Doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. We run out of time. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about the Go Giver.
My pleasure.
You've delved into it more. I'm going to read it again. I'm excited. An audience out there, please get the book, read it. It's not what this podcast is about, but you can see this little book can be very powerful in your life. Bob, thanks again. Appreciate your time. Everybody, will see you on the next episode of Doing Business with the Servant's Heart.